a grabar aquí y muy buenas noches. No hay luz aquí. Buenas noches, por fin, buenas noches. Porque estamos en pleno noviembre. We're right smack in November now. Muy bien. Vamos a, claro, practicar. Vamos a tomar preguntas. I'll take any questions you have here and there. ¿Qué vamos a hacer esta noche? What are we going to do today? We're going to take any questions you might have had on the Katrina video. I don't think there'll be a lot, but there may be something there lurking because they have a lot of translation in that video. We'll move on with the practice of those little set chunk phrases. And if you watched parts of that video, I did have some folks in a different class who kind of said, wow, that guy goes very, very fast. And indeed he does. Yes. So I may go over portions of that little video to just show what phrases he wants people to isolate. But his point being that sometimes if we've got ideas, chunks of words that normally hang together that people will generally use in a conversational way, if you've got it in your back pocket, you can pull it out, adapt it, add a little embellishment here, add a little change here, and it will be something that will sound very natural. But it's a matter of sometimes you got to know how some of those typical phrases hang together. We'll take any other questions you have along the way because, yeah, I see. We'll talk a little bit about prep we'll have for conversation for next week as well. Okay, vamos a empezar aquí quiero saber si ustedes tienen preguntas de algo aquí de este video de la Katrina, ¿sí? Hay traducciones, hay subtítulos, claro. Así que no es tan difícil de entender. Really not so hard to understand. But if there is anything from that little video that you didn't quite get, or you want to see why something was used the way it was, now would be a good time to bring that up. And they had good translations here. See, Pat.
Tras, T-R-A-S.
Tras.
Tras, yeah.
See, give me more with tras, because tras can be used in many ways.
Okay, well, I think they meant after, because I looked it up.
See,
but I had never, we've always used después.
And tras is one of those words that can, it gets little chunks added on to it. So,
okay.
Tras always indicates going that way. Okay. It might just be tras. It might be atrás.
Oh, okay.
See, it might be detrás, atrás, detrás, all saying going that way, behind.
Okay.
Backwards and behind. Okay. Or after.
I meant after, I think. In context, I think I looked up and it said after.
Yeah, how I took it can mean after. Yeah. There are lots of ways we can tweak and morph and use tras or detrás or atrás. Yeah, but it'll always be going that way, behind or after. Sí. Buena pregunta. Good question. Any other question on something she used, terms she used? Anything else? ¿Algo más? No hay. Okay. Vale. Bien. Excelente. Aquí, sí, I hope you had time to read this. This is really a fun read. I'll probably include the link for it again in this week's email. It's a good little historic view of La Katrina Garbancera. And you know, how it really ties into history and art. And, you know, the one thing to remember about when La Catrina Garancera became popular in Mexican culture, when people started to see it all over the place, when it became kind of iconic, was starting in the, I'm going to say mid 1800s. I probably don't have an exact year for you, but, you know, that was a century when el presidente Porfirio Diaz was a real Frenchophile. A lot of the architecture and culture that he was trying to bring into Mexico, and investment he was trying to bring into Mexico, was, you know, he was seeking a lot of this from France. So there was a great deal of French influence being brought into the country by the powers that be in Mexico in those mid 1800s, and therefore French. And you know, France was, you know, French was the lingua franca, you know, the language used to communicate all over the world in those days, and because of the influence culturally and with fashion and arts and everything else, you know, the idea kind of was, hey, Mexicans, let's not forget our roots. Let's not forget our indigenous culture that, you know, built this, you know, the foundations of the civilization before the Spaniards came, before all this influence from the French coming in. And so a lot of this thing of using La Catrina was, don't put on airs of the French influence. You know, remember what is a strong part of our own heritage. And, you know, that carried over for many, many decades to call people back to their roots, as it were. Okay. Okay.
Marilyn?
Sí.
Yeah, Fred and I went to the Dia de los Muertos at the Garden this year. And I think, you know, you can get free passes, the cultural pass from the library, and that's what we do every year. And this year was a little disjointed because they have a Botero exhibit in Fernando, I think his first Botero art.
Oh, Botero, sí.
Yeah, Botero. So where they usually have all the stuff for Dia de los Muertos. So it was a bit disjointed, but it's a fun thing, and the ofrenda is always wonderful. So I encourage everybody. And I don't know if they're going to have a Guarnaguetza this year. I haven't checked that out.
Buena pregunta. No sé. I don't know. I'll see if I can dig up some information on that this week. We'll see what we can find out. Bien. Okay. Vale, muy bien. Vamos a pasar a aquí. We're going to move into this a little bit. For this week and next week, what I want to talk about is trying to get us to be able to use chunk phrases to express general ideas in a way that will sound very natural for the people you're speaking to, how to make our brains work in a natural way, how to get out, you know, general ideas without maybe struggling quite so much. And all of us feel that way sometimes, you know, that's the way it goes. And please do remember this guy here, Nacho, que se llama Nacho, este hombre aquí. He does coach people who are at a pretty high level on purpose. You know, these people who either live in Spain or are seeking to get higher ratings, language ratings to work there. So, you know, he pushes the envelope pretty hard. He pushes hard. You don't have to push that hard. But one thing he talks about is that when you memorize certain little chunks, okay, the first example being la verdad es que, la verdad es que, la verdad es que. When you memorize that little chunk is going to lead off, that you're starting off a conversation, It gives you time to think and plop in the other new ideas you want to say. And la verdad es que is a natural thing that people will expect to hear. But if you kind of memorize some of those little phrases, it will become easier. And he has something he says here aquí, que dice aquí, esto es importante. Cuando te concentras, estás marcando un surco en tu cerebro. When you really concentrate on this, of knowing these little chunks of phrases, that's what he's talking about. You're marking kind of a groove in your brain que te ayuda a recordar, that helps you to remember something here. Okay, I'm going to let him talk.
Estás como, es como si estuvieras haciendo el surco, the groove. You're carving a groove, ¿vale?
Vale.
Estás marcando un surco en tu
Espero que
cerebro.
sí.
Y eso es lo que luego te ayuda a recordarlo.
Okay.
Cuando lo vuelvas a escuchar, tu cerebro ya está preparado.
So when you hear it again, your brain is prepared. So if you memorize some of these little chunks of words, these estructuras that he likes to take out of some of these little sentences, and he's really heavy on, memorizing and repeating. That's not something I'm really going to do with you guys tonight or probably ever. I'm not religious about that. But when you memorize some of these little chunks of phrases that you hear a lot, it's something you can, as I like to say, pull out of that back hip pocket and use, and then you can embellish a little bit and sound a little more fluid.
Porque te has esforzado, ¿vale? Mañana se te va a olvidar, pero te va a costar menos recordarlo.
It'll cost you less to remember it if you know some of these little chunks you can just plop in.
¿Vale? Acabas de hacer, es como ir haciendo círculos. Has hecho, el primer círculo es el más difícil.
Yeah, the first groove you circle in your brain is the hardest. Okay, first one is the
El
hardest.
segundo círculo es más fácil.
El segundo círculo es más fácil. The second time you groove it around, it's not quite as hard.
¿Vale?
Vale.
Súper bien.
Gracias.
Vamos a la siguiente. Entonces yo ahora te digo, vale, pues la próxima vez que pase por aquí, si te veo tomando las tostadas...
Oh, okay. Now I'm going to stop him here because we're going to go back to what some of these little phrases were. Okay. We did work on La Verdad es que last week, right? We worked on La Mayoría de last week. And we worked on lo que más me gusta, lo que más, lo que más, lo que más, lo que más, lo que más. Those little words should all just hang together and flow right one into the other. Lo que más me gusta, but that gusta could become something different. So the lo que más me will probably be the same if you're talking about yourself, right? That me could become a te. That me could become a nos if we're talking about us as a group. That me could become a le or a les. Okay, so we have to keep in mind who you're talking about. If you're talking about yourself, which is what our goal is here, lo que más me gusta, and we might have a de phrase or might not. It depends. If I know I'm talking about my house, I might just say, lo que más me gusta es el espacio en mi cocina. What I like best is the space in my kitchen. Okay. And if I assume I'm talking about my house, if I don't assume, if I can't assume that, if I need to name, then I insert the idea of de mi casa, about my house. Lo que más me gusta de mi casa, el espacio en la cocina. Es el espacio, ¿sí? Lo que más me gusta de mi nuevo carro es que es híbrido. What I like best about my car is that it's hybrid. Lo que más me gusta de mi nuevo carro es que es eléctrico. What I like best about my car is that it's electric. Lo que más me gusta de mi nuevo carro, son los asientos de cuero, or the leather seats. Okay. See? So, así. So we want the lo que más me to roll off the tongue. Lo que más me, lo que más me. And be aware, it might not need the verb gusta. We might plug in a different kind of verb. But that first part will remain the same. Lo que más me, lo que más me. And if we take a positive emotion like gusta and we plug in an opposite kind of emotion like frustra, frustrates me, right? Lo que más me frustra, pum, 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 pum. Y el ejemplo aquí de mi pueblo es la gente que no apoya a las escuelas. We could even reduce that into something simpler. Lo que más me frustra, por ejemplo, lo que más me frustra es la gente que no limpia después de su perro.
Ah, sí, sí.
Neighbors complain about this a lot. Sí, lo que más yo tengo vecinos así. Tengo vecinos que hablan de esto todo el tiempo, todo el tiempo. Lo que más me frustra es la gente que no limpia después de su perro. ¿Sí? Ok. ¿Cuáles son sus ideas? What are your ideas?
Um, I have one.
Dale.
Lo que más me frustra
Frustra.
es la tiempo en la aeropuerto esperando el avión.
Es el tiempo de esperar en el aeropuerto. Claro. Entiendo perfectamente. Sí. Bueno, otra idea. Sí, Federico.
Okay. Lo que más me gusta es mi casa es moderna y rodeado de enormes rocas.
Rocas enormes.
Rocas.
Oh, so the enormes is after rocas, huh?
Ser enormes rocas o rocas enormes.
Okay.
Sí, los dos. Sí, son posibles. Okay, but you use the gusta, ¿sí?
Sí.
Gusta. Okay, vale.
Me gusta.
Los dos. Either one of those two that you want to throw out an idea for. Susana.
Lo que más me frustra es la gente maneja demasiado rápido.
Sí, lo que más me frustra, sí, es cuando la gente maneja de manera muy rápida. Sí. Sí, la gente que maneja rápido. La gente que maneja rápidamente.
Okay.
Eso sí. Eso sí. Buena idea. Otra idea. Lo que más me frustra o lo que más me gusta. Sí, Carlos.
Lo que más me frustra es la suposición apoyada por las redes sociales de que no hay expertos en nada.
Puedo ver a veces lo que más me frustra son las redes sociales. Punto. Sí, las redes sociales, sí. Todo el mundo tiene una opinión. A veces una opinión muy fuerte. Sí, ok, bien. Algo más. Aquí. Sí, Bárbara.
Lo que más me gusta es cuando tengo un libro en español que puedo leer.
Sí. Así. A veces es difícil leer un libro de verdad, por ejemplo, una novela de verdad, porque hay muchas palabras extrañas, difíciles de leer y sí, puede ser
Sí.
difícil.
Sí.
Bien,
Así
bien.
es un cuento en español, corto. Algunas veces puedo leer un
Sí,
cuento corto.
claro.
Sí, pero una novela me frustra algunas veces cuando leo una novela o
Ok.
cuando tratar de leer una novela.
Sí. Y por eso los artículos en periódicos
Bien.
ayudan mucho porque un artículo puede ser difícil, puede tener vocabulario sofisticado, pero bueno, un artículo en un periódico o en una revista no es como leer 200 páginas, ¿sí? 200 páginas de una novela, de verdad. Ok. Bueno, otra idea con gusta o frustra. Otra idea. Allá. The lo que más will all be the same. We just are plugging in some different verbs. Let's see if we can plug in yet a different verb. Instead of gusta, instead of frustra, lo que más me anima. And when somebody says that, then me anima is all going to run together. Lo que más me anima, me anima. There won't be a pause between those words. Lo que más me anima. And animar is like cheer up, pump you up, pep you up. ¿Sí? Lo que más me anima por la mañana es una taza de café en el patio. It's a nice cup of coffee on the patio. ¿Ok? Hay otra idea con anima. Lo que más me anima.
Lo que, oh, go ahead, sorry. Sí.
Sí, Cindy.
Animo o solamente lo que más me gusta.
No importa.
Okay. Lo que más me gusta la tiempo en Scottsdale y las montañas
Las
en
montañas.
Arizona.
Ok. Bien, bien. Excelente. Bueno, Bárbara.
Lo que más me anima es una taza de chocolate.
Sí. Chocolate. Chocolate caliente. Sí, especialmente ahora en el otoño, cuando hace fresco. Bien, sí. Bueno, sí. A ver, lo que más me anima es la vista de las montañas donde vivo, ¿no? Excelente. ¿Algo más con anima o frustra o gusta? Sí, Patricia. Oh, you're on mute.
Frustra. Lo que más me frustra es cuando personas inteligentes elegirían hacer y decir cosas tontas.
Sí. Choose to do dumb stuff.
Sí.
Sí.
¿Verdad? Sí. Bien. Exacto. Pat, perdón.
Lo que más me anima es ir al gimnasio.
Oh,
Claro. Lo que más me anima es ir al gimnasio. Yeah. Going to the gym can pep you up. Sí, Susana.
I was going to say, lo que más me anima es jugar con mi nieto.
Perfecto. Sí.
So,
Para el espíritu es perfecto.
see, a question. So when you wouldn't say jugando is playing, right? Because you use the
jugar.
infinitive. Okay. got it.
Jugar. Sí, es la clave. There's the key. Sí. Anything that's an activity that cheers you up will stay in that infinitive form. Okay. Because of the estructura. Lo que más me anima. Lo que más me anima es jugar con mi nieto. What
Gracias.
cheers me up most is playing with my grandkid. Sí. Lo que más me anima es hablar con la familia
Ujú.
que vive muy lejos. La familia que vive muy lejos. ¿Bien? Vale, perfecto. Lo que más me anima es andar en bicicleta cerca de Browns Ranch. Allá, ¿sí? En el parque. Bien. Bueno, if we pull out anima or we pull out frustra or we pull out gusta, we could plug in all kinds of different verbs there. We could plug in interesa. What interests me the most? What is the most interesting to me? See? Lo que más me interesa, and I could talk about de mi trabajo or I could talk about any situation. Lo que más me interesa es, lo que más me interesa es aprender sobre la fauna del desierto. What interests me the most is learning about the animal life. Sí, la fauna. Animal life, flora and fauna. Sí. La fauna en el desierto. Sí. I had de mi trabajo in there, but it could be anything else. Otra idea con interesa. Lo que más me interesa.
I had lo que más me interesa es plantas y animales del desierto, especialmente los venados y los coyotes y los gato montes.
Ok. ¿Saltamontes?
¿Sí?
Ok. Bien. Bien. Bueno, perfecto. Perfecto. Hay otra idea con interesa. Anything else you want to add with that interesa idea?
I could do one.
Bien.
Lo que más me interesa es jugar el pickleball con mis amigas.
Bien, sí, perfecto. Un hobby, un pasatiempo, sí. Es jugar al pickleball, sí, fantástico. Bueno.
Lo que más me interesa es cómo la geografía de un lugar da forma a su cultura.
Sí, como la geografía, sí, da forma a su cultura en otro país.
Por ejemplo, Chile.
Sí.
Excelente, sí, todas esas montañas, sí, es un país
Sí,
muy estrecho, sí. Exacto. Pero tiene la orilla al mar, tiene las montañas, tiene desiertos, tiene un poquito de todo, sí. Bien, fantástico. Ok, algo más con interesa. Anything else with interesa? Adelante. Sí.
Lo que más me interesa es las culturas de personas diferentes del mundo.
Sí, lo que más me interesa es la cultura de otras personas en otros países. Es así, perfecto. Perfecto. Me gusta mucho. Ok, so lo que más me gusta, lo que más me frustra, lo que más me anima, lo que más me interesa. And there are lots you could plug in there, but the lo que más. So that thing he mentioned about, you know, un surco, carving a groove in your brain. If you're used to that lo que más me structure, when you hear somebody use it, the light can go on if you see lots of examples of it. Okay. What I like the most, what I dislike the most, you know, whatever it may be, lo que más me gusta. You're ready to hear those words linked together and used together to convey an idea. Okay. We're going to look at a couple of other connected words, and we're going to listen to a little bit more of how he takes one more structure part in that video, just to see how they work together. Un par de. When she was talking about that long sentence, she was trying to memorize and repeat that. One of the structures she pulled out was lo que más me gusta. One of the structures she pulled out was la verdad es que. One of the structures she pulled out that she didn't recognize was un par de. And again, those are going to all kind of run together. They will sound almost like one word, un par de, which is nothing more than just saying a couple of. ¿Sí? Un par de sillas. Lo que ella dice en el video es, lo que más me gusta es tener es que el piso tiene, el nuevo piso, the new apartment, el nuevo apartamento, tiene un balconcito, has a little balcony, tiene un balconcito donde cabe un par de sillas y una mesa, donde cabe una mesa y un par de sillas, where a table and a couple of chairs. And in English, people will not say a couple of, they'll say a couple of. Yeah, see? Yeah, we run those words together all the time. What are you going to do? You teach someone in English, what are you going to do? And how it comes out of a typical English speaker is, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? And that's the way most people in English will say it. What are you going to do? It does not sound like, what are you going to do? You know, said very carefully. So, okay, un par de es otra combinación de palabras. Aquí es otra manera de decir este número. Dos. Vale, bueno, un par de, ¿sí? And we might pair it with all kinds of different verbs. Necesito un par de entradas para el cine. I need a couple of tickets.
Entrada.
Sí. Quiero un par de
Cerveza.
Galletas con mi café.
Okay. Quiero un par de quiero un par de zapatos nuevos.
Sí.
Sí.
Quiero un par de zapatos nuevos. ¿Sí?
Quiero un par de pantalones.
Pantalones, sí, vale, sí. O busco, I'm looking for. Busco un par de recuerdos para mi familia. ¿Sí? Un par de, and then we name whatever the item is. O necesito. ¿Sí? Bien. So we might, necesito, sí, repito eso, no. Okay, vale. But you get the idea. Un par de is just a more sophisticated way of saying a couple of, but you'll hear people say things like that. Okay. We're going to come back to this page here in a minute. En un minuto. Okay. I want you to hear the sentence. And I think I need to take my subtitles off. Okay. Last week they talked about, I hear you found an apartment, right? And he wanted her to, in a conversational way, mention what she was looking for, what she got, okay, why she likes it, was recently painted. I mean, this is normal stuff you would tell people if you just moved into a new place, okay? Here's another response connected to this idea of, she was talking about el balconcito, donde cabe una mesa y un par de sillas. A little balcony enough to fit a table and a couple of chairs. Okay, so check out this sentence, which is really not an unusual thing to say, but some nasty, nasty subjunctive is going to come up.
Y
Okay.
el café en la terraza, te saludo.
Será mejor que llames al teléfono.
Oh, momentito, sorry. We've got to have that. Pues, okay. I'll read this a little bit slower for you guys. Pues, la próxima vez que pase por aquí, the next time I
Go by.
pass by, see,
Pass
si
by.
te veo, si te veo tomando las tostadas en el café y el café en la terraza, te saludo.
Mm.
If I see you having toast and coffee on the terrace, I'll say hello to you.
Yeah. Okay. Exacto. Exacto. Muy bien. So, and here is a normal little tiny word that people will start off lots of sentences with. Pues. Well. So. It's a lead-off pause word. It's a muletilla, what they call the little crutch. Pues by itself means.
Well,
What does well mean? It means you're pausing to gather your thoughts, yeah? Pues la próxima vez, well, the next time, la próxima vez, all that should run together. Pues la próxima vez que pase por aquí, the next time I walk by or I'm around there, see? That I come by, pase por aquí, and there's subjunctive. Because he doesn't know when the next time he's going to pass. Oh, why did he not say paso?
Because
¿Por qué?
It's-
No, because he doesn't know when the next time is going to be that he does that. And when people don't know when that activity is going to happen, they'll slip in this funky thing we as English speakers know and hate as subjunctive subjuntivo, but it's going to happen because he's not saying I walk by here every day. That would be a habit. That would be paso por aquí. Okay. Futuro, future, like for sure would be voy a pasar por aquí. Okay. Past would be la última vez, the last time que pasé por aquí. But the next time I come by, when will that be? ¿Quién sabe? Who knows? And because it's a who knows hypothetical situation, this becomes pase. La próxima vez que pase por aquí, next time I pass by, si te veo tomando las tostadas y el café, if I see you having toast and coffee, tostadas are what people in Spain typically have. It's toast with tomato, actually, on top, usually. Sí, tostadas. Yeah, tostadas. This is not the Mexican tostadas that we know and love where we live. Tostadas in Spain are something else. Okay, he's talking in Barcelona. Si te veo tomando las tostadas y el café en la terraza, ¿sí? En el balconcito, on your little balcony, terraza and balconcito are really the same thing they're talking about. Te saludo. I will. Yeah, but yeah, it looks like that, saludo, but it's really that. Te saludo.
But that's not future there. That's
Oh, but it is.
it's a-
Because people will often use plain old present tense as a substitute for future. He could say, te voy a saludar. That would also be okay. So many things are acceptable. Many things
Yeah.
are common, right? Te voy,
Oh, I've lost you.
te voy a saludar would be future, and that is fine. Okay. Te saludo means I will do it. And present tense can be used to talk about what I am doing right now, in fact, or what I do as a general habit all the time, or as long as it's not in the past, right? Or what I will do pretty soon. Así. So if somebody says that to you, hey, next time I come round your neck of the woods and you're out there sipping your coffee on that balcony, I'll wave hi. Okay. How might you answer that?
Pues la próxima vez que pase por aquí, si te veo tomando las tostadas y el café en la terraza, te saludo.
Será mejor que llames al telefonillo, porque desde el octavo no creo que te oiga.
No creo que te...
Ah, bien. Okay. Wow. What a mouthful. We're going to try to break this down and make it, we're actually going to take one estructura out of here and really just work one estructura. And the estructura we're going to take out is the very first segment here. Será mejor que is future. So we're going to simplify that even more. Será es futuro. It will be better. It will be better. We're going to simplify it and bring it down into present tense, and you'll see how it looks in the next slide. But what he uses here, which we're going to simplify even more. Será mejor que llames al telefonillo, telefonillo. And you could just use teléfono there, right? Telefonillo is your little phone. Yeah, that's your cell phone he's talking about. It would probably be better that you call on the phone first, that you phone first. It would be better that you phone first because desde el octavo, from the what? She's talking about how many floors up?
The eighth floor.
Eighth floor.
She's talking from the eighth floor. He's talking from the
She's
eighth
not gonna
floor.
hear him.
Desde el octavo, from the eighth, meaning she's 8 floors up. Porque desde el octavo, sí? Or she's saying to him, porque desde el octavo, no creo que te oiga. No creo que te oiga. I don't think.
I can hear you.
I don't think I'm going to hear you. And we're going to isolate a couple of these little structures and make them easier. Okay? Because you'll notice this is not llamas like you think it should be. And that's because of this structure here. Será mejor que, which we're going to simplify to presente. Es mejor que. Instead of putting that in future, we're going to put it into presente. Better that you call first on the phone, because from the 8th floor, I don't think I can hear you. Okay? And this llames thing here, it has to be a subjunctive because this kind of structure just needs that. We'll see why. And no creo que te oiga is again subjunctive because you're saying, I don't think this is going to happen. And anytime you say, I don't think, it flops it back into that nasty, nasty subjunctive category. So let's make it easier. Más fácil. Okay. Primero, we're going to take a look at 2 of these. We're going to break this down and make it a lot easier. I'm going to make this bigger too. Okay. There are 2 ways you can use es mejor. And we're not going to take será mejor. We're not going to take será mejor. It will be better. Or it might be better because that's what será would be. We're going to make it easier, presente. Es mejor. There are 2 ways, actually, you might hear using es mejor. One is es mejor with a plain old infinitive. Es mejor. Es mejor, por ejemplo, es mejor escuchar español cada día. It's better to
Listen to Spanish.
Listen to Spanish
Spanish
every day. Okay. If I phrase it that way, am I talking to anybody in particular?
No.
No, no.
No. And that's why that stays escuchar. Es mejor is what they call an impersonal phrase. Impersonal means it's not referring to any human being. Impersonal phrase. Es mejor, it's better. It. What is it? Impersonal. Es mejor. Es mejor, if it doesn't refer to any one human being, will always stay with an infinitive. Okay, otro ejemplo. Es mejor escuchar español cada día. Es mejor, es mejor limpiar bien el baño cada semana. It's best to
Clean the bathroom
Clean
every
the
week.
bathroom every week.
Wow.
But I'm not putting it on you.
Mhm.
Just any human being. Yeah. See?
Mhm.
Es mejor mejor divertirse un poco cada semana.
Better to have
It's better to
Enjoy
have
yourself.
some little fun.
enjoy yourself a little bit every week. What else could we say? Not to any one human being, but just in general. Just using that infinitive. Es mejor escuchar español. Es mejor limpiar. Es mejor divertirse un poco. Otra idea, another idea.
Es mejor manejarse más despacio.
Mhm.
Sí, bien. Okay.
Es mejor caminar cada día.
Okay. Vale. Bueno, otra idea.
Es mejor comer los vegetales cada día.
Es mejor comer vegetales cada día. Sí, obvio. Bueno, otra idea.
Es mejor que leer libros históricos.
Es mejor
Bien.
leer libros históricos. Bien. Es mejor no leer las redes sociales todos los días. Ok, bien, Bárbara.
Es mejor practicar ejercicio de vez en cuando.
Sí, claro, sí. Es mejor hacer ejercicio, practicar ejercicio, sí, eso, bien. Ok. Siempre infinitivo. You don't ever have to fret about that because I'm not talking about any one human being. Okay. So this little phrase that he used here did not use that easier structure. I want you to notice that. So we're going to take a look at why this harder thing exists. We're going to recognize how the structure changes so that you can do the surco en el cerebro. You can do the groove in the brain. Okay. Bien. So we're going to take these ideas and modify them and simplify them. You may hear it as just what we did. Es mejor divertirse un poco cada semana. Es mejor practicar deporte cada día. Es mejor hacer ejercicio cada día. Es mejor sí hacer ejercicio. We're going to give us another example here so that we can play with that. Okay. If I take it out of that easier structure, sadly, some people will not talk back to you using that easy structure. Sadly, what a lot of people are going to come back with you is a new word they add to that structure. And here's the new word, que.
Okay.
And que is a great big red flag.
Subjunctive.
Subjuntivo, sí. Que is a great big red flag that says, ooh, watch out. Now I'm going to talk about somebody for real. I'm going to single somebody out. It could be yo. It could be tú. It could be Alberto. It could be Luisa y Norma. It could be ustedes. It could be nosotros. It could be anybody, but I'm going to single out somebody specifically. And that que is a little red flag saying, watch out, I'm going to be talking about somebody in detail now. But that's going to mean I can't use escuchar anymore. Okay? I'm going to have to use subjuntivo. So it's going to sound like this. You'll still hear the es mejor, but now you've got a que. So it says, ooh, human being coming up. Es mejor que, instead of es mejor escuchar español, es mejor que escuches 5 minutos de español cada día. See? And let's even take our 5 minutos out. That's just being more specific. Es mejor que escuches español cada día. Es mejor que escuches. And now I'm talking about
You.
you. That could be, it could be, es mejor que yo escuche español cada día. It could be, es mejor que ellos, es mejor que mis estudiantes escuchen con N, escuchen español cada día. It could be, es mejor que escuchemos. It could be, si es posible decir, si es mejor que nos escuchemos. It's important that we listen to each other.
Oh.
Yes, sí, es posible. Okay, but notice this looks like wrong. This looks like wrong. Isn't escuchar an kind of verb? Yes, but this que thing was a great big red flag that said this verb cannot stay in infinitive anymore. It has to go into what we call subjunctive. Okay, so now what you need to know is that certain phrases will, let me give it a percentage. Like 85 to 90% of the time. High enough? A lot. We'll do this. Okay, what kinds of things will do this so that I can have un patrón, a pattern to listen for, and a pattern to practice? These impersonal phrases wind up being things like es mejor que, right? Es bueno. How bland is bueno? Es bueno que. Es malo que. Es importante que. Es posible que. Es imposible que. It could be something like es necesario que. Okay, vale. Bien. All of these things start with es. They're all es and an adjective. There's the pattern. Es and an adjective. And all these adjectives are, let us say, opinionated, which is what it boils down to. They are opinionated. If I say it's better that you listen to Spanish every day, that's my opinion. Okay? That's what I think is best. Doesn't mean that somebody's going to do it. It doesn't mean it's happening right now, for sure. Okay? And because it's a general opinion, a desire even that somebody might want to impose on somebody else, This little second piece is going to have to go into subjunctive to tell who you want to do that. Okay. We all know you can tell your kids, es importante que no fumes. It's important that you don't. Es importante que no fumes. It's important you don't smoke. But are all kids going to do that? Wow, you're going to take that as gospel? That's what every teenage kid is going to do? Welcome to the real world. We don't know. We don't know. Okay. So all these things are what we call impersonal phrases. They all start with es. Okay. There are a couple of notable, and the reason I told you like 85 to 90% is sometimes we get an errant phrase, which unlike these other ones you see on the board, talk about rather than an opinion or a supposition, they talk about certainty. And so if you say something like es with cierto, or
not-
es with verdad, es verdad, then I cannot use subjunctive, because anytime I say it's true, or if it's for sure, I am saying that is gospel truth. And gospel truth cannot use this subjuntivo of escuches. It cannot. Okay. Gospel truth goes into indicativo, the regular, plain old vanilla brand present tense you're used to, right? So if I were to change this, instead of saying, es mejor que escuches español cada día, the one thing that's going to like veer out of this subjunctive thing is going to be something like, es cierto que escuchas español cada día. Okay. Es cierto que means it's true that you do that. And I am therefore saying it's a fact. And facts cannot go into this funky thing we call subjunctive. Okay. So, but this es cierto, es verdad is a teeny tiny slice of the pie. Most of the phrases, like he wants you to learn chunks, as Nacho wants you to learn chunks like es verdad que, lo que más me gusta. Okay, this chunk es mejor que, and most of its buddies that we call impersonal phrases are going to use subjunctive. So let's take a look at, instead of using es mejor, we're going to, actually, see, we're going to use es mejor, but let's take a look at what happens with some of these other things if we use the es mejor que, if we get the red flag up. Not es mejor escuchar, not es mejor limpiar bien el baño, but es mejor que
limpies.
Que limpies, exacto. Es mejor que limpies bien el baño. ¿Sí? Es mejor, let's take divertirse. Es mejor que this one is tough. Not diviertes, but que te diviertas. Es mejor que te diviertas un poco cada semana. It's good that you go out and enjoy yourself, you say to your 20-something kids. Good for you to get out and we don't work 7 days a week. Es mejor que te diviertas un poco cada semana, ¿no? But it'll sound like that. Que te diviertas. Okay, let's take the hacer ejercicio. That one's going to be a little funky, a little weird, because that hacer is a funny verb that has lots of irregulars, and that's what's going to happen. Es mejor que hagas ejercicio. Okay. How can this sound like, wow, how do we get from hacer to hagas ejercicio. It's better that you do some exercise. Que hagas ejercicio, because we started with hago, the yo, right? The yo form that you would normally use in presente. You go work from hago, you drop that o, because we can't use an o in subjunctive. And hago is our base, or ag is our base without the o at the end. And because hacer is an ER verb, instead of using those and es and hemos endings that you think should be right for hacer, an ER verb, we use a endings. So haga, hagas, haga, hagamos, hagan. ¿Sí? Es mejor que mis hijos hagan ejercicio. Es mejor que mis hijos hagan ejercicio. ¿Entienden? ¿Sí? So, this es mejor que, we can plug in different ideas. ¿Sí? Without the que flag, I could use es bueno, and I could say, es bueno escuchar español cada día. But with the que, now I'm inserting a human being. Es bueno que mis estudiantes, sí, escuchen, escuchen CNN en español.
Dear.
¿Ok? Bien, sí. Es bueno que es bueno que mis estudiantes escuchen CNN en español. Es bueno que escuchen. Vale, sí, es bueno que. And the que is signaling, oh, I'm going to talk about a person. I could get rid of the mis estudiantes. Es bueno que escuchemos. The es bueno is just an opinion valuation. Okay? That's the way that works. You have to accept that on faith. See? But es malo que is going to use the same structure. Es importante que is going to use the same structure. See? Es necesario que is going to use the same structure. And all these que things are saying, ooh, can't just stick in that nice easy peasy infinitive. Now you need to actually plug in a human being. So look how this happened here. Es mejor, let's change the será. Es mejor que llames. It's better that you call. And notice what happened. The case says, ooh, I'm going to talk about something. Hey, don't just walk by my apartment and yell or wave. Better you call. Better you call. See.
She's saying, rather, she's saying, al
Telefonillo.
Telefonillo, gracias. Why not por?
Perdón. Oh,
Why not use por in lugar de al?
Oh, llames por teléfono.
Sí.
Sí. Es otra manera de decir la misma idea. It's just a different way of saying the same idea. Yeah. So is it okay to, you're used to saying llamar por teléfono. Can I use that instead? Sí, claro.
Okay.
Es mejor que llames por teléfono. Perfecto. Es mejor que llames por celular. Perfecto. Bien. Often there's not just one way to say that. That's just the way he chose to phrase this. See? But if somebody says this to you, you know the al telefoncillo means, oh, he's talking about not yelling up to the 8th floor, but dialing the number. Yeah? Bien? Okay, so we've got this little estructura, and we're simplifying it to es mejor que llames. Es mejor que llames. Bien? Sí, es mejor que llames. If we take that out and isolate it to practice it with something else, it could be es mejor. We could change it to Es importante. ¿Sí? Es importante que, it's important that. What kind of idea could we plug in here? It's important that somebody does something.
You tell the truth.
Ah,
Mm.
tell the truth.
Yeah.
Who tells the truth?
Very many politicians.
Es
Sorry.
importante que los políticos, let's go with that. Es importante que los políticos
Hablan la verdad.
mejor, hablen, sí. What do we usually use with truth? Tell.
Decir?
Decir, but
Yeah.
decir is going to look
Yeah.
funky weird because,
But I didn't know.
Diga,
What is this?
Diga?
and you're, digan.
Digan.
Okay.
A ver.
Es importante que los políticos digan la verdad.
Sí.
Sí, hablen. Okay, would somebody get your general idea? Yes, they would. Okay, but maybe a little more natural, it would sound to use this verb decir here. Que digan la verdad. Es importante que los políticos digan la verdad. Look at this. Wow, don't we all know this? Es importante que you are putting a value judgment on that, which is not necessarily the truth of what is really happening. Yeah. And that's why it goes into digan. And that's why he said, será mejor que llames por teléfono. Better you call on the phone, que llames. This is the same structure, just with a little different es phrase. And I'm going to give you a video to watch about the kinds of es phrases you can anticipate. Okay. Otra idea. Here's another es impersonal phrase. Es posible que, es posible que. Es posible que,
Viemos a Mexico.
Oh, that we go?
Yeah.
Okay.
Travel.
And again, sadly, this is going to be a verb that's going to be, what do we do with ir? Okay. If I took out que, I could say, es posible ir a México. Then I could use ir. Es posible ir a México. Okay. Pero, es
Vayamos.
posible que, es posible que,
Vayamos.
es posible que, que vayamos para nosotros. Es posible que vayamos a México. ¿Sí? El próximo año, en el invierno. Bien, sí. Es posible que vayamos a México. Es posible. Es posible que mi sobrino, sobrino, una vez, que mi sobrino se case en Cancún. Now, it hasn't happened yet. So I'm putting a value judgment that maybe, but this thing of dun, dun, da, da, it hasn't happened yet.
Es el verbo case.
Casarse, get married.
Oh, sí,
Es posible que mi sobrino se case en Cancún. It's possible that my nephew's getting married in Cancún. Mi sobrino se casa de verdad en 2 lugares. Pero es en 2 lugares. Legalmente, para hacerlo legalmente aquí en Estados Unidos. Y una segunda vez en Cancún con sus amiguitos de la fraternidad. Como invitados, sí, porque quiere que sus amiguitos de la fraternidad Sí, quiere que participen en su boda y beben mucho y sí, todo eso. Ok, vale. Bueno, es posible will always use the subjunctive structure. Ok, es posible que, es bueno que. Es bueno que, es bueno que.
Good at.
Oh, okay, I'm going to insert an idea. Es bueno que la ciudad de Scottsdale, and we're going to inject something here, reparar las calles. It's a good thing that the city does this. It's my valuation of that. Es bueno que la ciudad de Scottsdale.
Repare.
Exacto.
Es bueno que
Repare
repare.
las calles. Sí. Exacto. Bien. Okay. Let's pick something else. Es una lástima. Okay. It's a shame that. Es una lástima que los conductores en la autopista. It's a shame that people on that drivers on the 101
Vayan.
No.
Drive fast.
drive fast. Sí. ¿Cómo se dice drive fast?
Manero.
It would normally be manejan, but now it's going to become manejen, sí. Sí. Tan rápidamente. Tan rápido. Muy rápido.
Can you say demasiado?
Demasiado rápido. Sí. Sin tener cuidado. Sin tener cuidado, without being careful, without taking care. Así es. Bien, sí. Así, bueno. Entonces, sí, la estructura. So the structure here is the important part. Okay. We're going to take a look at one more structure out of this video from last week. We're going to let them go. We're not going to let it go. We're going to take a look at this very bottom part. No creo que te oiga. No creo que te oiga. This is the hardest one. We left the hardest one for last. This is one that may be tough for you to use, but I want you to start to recognize it when you hear it. Okay? So keep in mind this last part, the es mejor que, I would like you to be able to use a little bit, and you're going to have some little video that'll show you how that works. We'll play with that a little bit more next week. But desde el octavo, from the 8th floor, desde el octavo, no creo que te oiga. From the 8th floor, I don't think I'm going to hear you. Okay, that oiga comes from oigo, which comes from oír, to hear. I don't think I'll hear you. Why? Subjunctive for this, because the structure here, instead of es mejor, or form of es mejor, it's no creo que. I don't think that. And do we say I don't think that a lot? we often do in conversation. So the structure we want to look at here is no creo que. And again, that que is a great big red flag. No creo que is another thing that is going to take this nasty thing we call subjunctive. Because if you're saying, I don't think that, you're saying, it ain't real, baby. It's not happening. Okay. And whenever an activity is doubtful, somebody thinks it doesn't happen, they're going to plug in this subjunctive thing. But notice this little word que, that little que word, is a super big, it's always a red flag. Well, not always. It's a red flag when we've got a trigger type thing, and the no creo que is a trigger. And that means, ooh, disbelief. Okay. And the que says, I'm going to talk about somebody now. No creo que haya espacio en el carro. I don't think there's any space in the car, but what are you more likely to say? There's no
Room.
So don't look up the word cuarto because you're not looking for an actual housing type room in your car. You're looking for room like an open space. Yeah. Okay. So no creo que haya espacio en el carro. That haya is the subjunctive for I instead of I. That's just what it does. And it'll always be haya. So it's a nice, easy one. Even though it's kind of oddball, it's always only that one word haya. No creo que haya espacio en el carro. Okay. The no creo que is I don't think. And that indicates that this is not an action that is happening. This is a condition that doesn't exist. And sadly, in Spanish and some other languages too, conditions like that require subjunctive. Now, if you mess up and you use a plain old vanilla flavor present verb, will somebody understand you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they'll think. Yeah, might roll the eye and think a little bit, but yeah, it won't sound natural to them. They'll get the general idea, but this is, something that is useful so that it's easy for the other person to get it right away, quickly. Yeah. Okay.
Mary, una pregunta, porque
Sí, dime.
sí, algunas veces me confundo. Entiendo, no creo que, y esto necesita el subjuntivo, pero si una persona dice, no pienso que, vaya.
Lo opuesto. That's the exact opposite thing. If you say, I think that.
Right, then it's a solid affirmative item, and there's no doubt.
It's for real.
Bueno, gracias.
Okay. Aquí pienso que no es opinión. Así pienso que, I think that, or creo que. We can still use creo, but without the no part. Creo que. Creo que will not use subjunctive.
No.
And you might say, well, wait a minute. I think that it's going to be sunny. Isn't that iffy? Well, but if you're using the verb creo que, I think that, you're expressing sureness.
Okay.
That's just the way it is. I think, therefore I am, and all of that. I think, therefore I am. Okay. So, okay, let's look at the opposite of no creo que haya espacio en el carro. Creo que hay espacio en el carro. I think there's space in the car. I think, therefore, it is. I think, therefore, it is. It does exist. See, creo que hay espacio. No hay subjuntivo. No creo que. I don't think that. Okay, bien.
Question.
Sí.
Just out of curiosity, can you say creo que no hay espacio? I don't think.
Creo que no hay espacio. Sí. Creo que no hay, sí. Creo que no hay espacio. You are stating it's all full.
Yeah. Okay, no.
Sí. The no has to be built into this end of it.
Sí.
I don't think. Unsure. See? I don't think she makes very much money. You're talking about your gossipy person. No creo que mi vecina gane mucho dinero.
Gane.
Chisme, sí. No creo que mi vecina gane mucho dinero. I don't think she makes much money.
Pero una persona puede decir, no pienso que mi vecina gana mucho dinero.
No pienso, it's doubt. It's doubt.
Okay.
Sí, ok, igual. Entonces, no creo que mi vecina, igual. No pienso.
Okay.
No pienso que mi vecina gane dinero, mucho dinero.
It's a jump.
Okay, because it's a doubt. It's no.
Because it's a doubt.
But if you turn
Because
it
it's
around,
a doubt, and I'm talking about somebody else.
Oh,
Notice what else is true here. I'm talking about what I think, but what I think about what somebody else does. Yeah.
Okay.
Perdón, sí, Esteban.
if you turn that around and you say pienso que mi vecina gana mucho dinero, you make that into a present tense statement.
And
No longer subjunctive.
Okay.
See. It's when doubt comes into the picture. Subjunctive comes in when we're making we're putting a subjective value on something. It's good, it's important, it's necessary, yeah, and we're putting it on somebody else. Or when we're saying there's doubt that other person is doing something, but there's got to be a different person coming into that picture. That's why that que word in this case is a red flag with this kind of trigger. Que is a trigger, is a red flag when you have a trigger. Es importante is a trigger. This is setting up a condition for uncertainty. Es posible is a trigger. Que. Yeah. Es bueno. Que. Those are triggers. And notice this que is not a trigger.
La verdad. Sí.
These are just words that run together. It's true that. First of all, certainty. True. Es verdad que. Okay. Es verdad. So, que isn't always going to be a red flag, but que is a red flag when we have what we call these kind of trigger phrases. And these are all what we call impersonal phrases. You'll get a little video on that. And we'll play around with that a little bit more next week, la semana que viene. ¿Sí? Bien? Okay. So the important thing we wanted to take away is that in a lot of these long structures, you may get a little bit flummoxed, but always good to isolate a set of words that seem like they go together. And then we can see why those things become a pattern that we can plug into other ideas. ¿Sí? Bien? Okay. Vale, bueno. A ver, okay. What we're going to do, lo que vamos a hacer, I want to preview something else that's going to be something I want you to work on to prep for conversation. And this is going to be not necessarily a chunk, but ideas we can use to make conversation flow. So it's still about making a conversation work or breaking things down into manageable pieces. But this is more about the logic of a conversation and making it maybe not sound textbook-y. Okay, so we're going to listen to just a little bit of this, and I'm going to show you some ideas I've broken down for you to ponder and maybe insert your ideas next week. So she talks about how to, and I'm not going to play this whole video. It's a 15-minute video. I'll give you the link. There are chunks of it I've actually taken out from her video for us to use next week. She talks about how to make a conversation flow. A lot of times, you have these things in a book, question and answer, a question and answer. And when you get into a real conversation, you get kind of stuck with that. Okay. So
vamos a ver cómo terminar una conversación.
Okay.
Tener una conversación fabulosa y
Secret
te
to
voy a
having a
decir
great
qué
conversation.
puedes hacer para llevar tu español al siguiente nivel. Vamos a hablar de los 4 puntos importantes en una conversación.
But we're only going to look at
Vamos a
2 of the
hablar
4
de
points.
cómo iniciar una conversación.
You don't need to work hard on how to initiate a conversation. Hola, ¿cómo te llamas? Okay. We're going to bypass number 1. Ya saben eso. You already know that. Okay.
Vamos a hablar de cómo desarrollar una conversación.
There is something where we can all work a little bit more. Cómo desarrollar una conversación. Desarrollar. How to develop a conversation. Meaning, what's a logical thing to follow up somebody's statement? And you'll see what she means in a bit.
En español con hispanohablantes, vamos a hablar de cómo cambiar de tema.
Cómo cambiar de tema. That doesn't need as much work, but that's how to change the topic, how to change the subject. What's a typical thing you'll hear somebody use to change the subject? And then she talks about finishing up a conversation, but we're not going to, like how to get out gracefully, but we're not going to work on that too much. Here is what I would want to play back for you, though. Some conversations wind up sounding textbook-y, and they won't flow well if you're trying to actually exchange ideas with somebody. So how do you know what to say as a comeback to a statement to let the conversation flow?
Por ejemplo, he escuchado a algunos de mis estudiantes en las clases de conversación grupales que tenemos todas las semanas, cuando yo les pregunto este tipo de cosas para que hablen de sí mismos, escucho una situación así, ¿no? Por ejemplo, ayer fui
al cine. Here's a typical thing she hears in her conversation groups. Ayer fui al cine. Yesterday I went to the movies.
Al cine. Ah, ¿qué película viste?
Ah, here's an answer. What movie did you see?
Contratiempo.
Here's the title.
¿A qué hora fuiste?
What time did you go? Now, she's going to go on to say, there's nothing wrong with saying these. There's nothing wrong with a qué hora fuiste as a comeback. But if you're having a real conversation with a real person, trying to get to the picture. Oh, she has a perfect picture for this. And I'm not getting it. It starts to sound kind of like an interrogation. I went to the movies. What did you see? Title of movie. What time did you go? It starts to sound like I'm making notes. And that's not very natural. Yeah. That's not very natural. So what might you use as a way of getting around that will let it
preguntarle al
flow.
hispanohablante y hacer que la conversación fluya
Que la conversación fluya. Let it flow.
un poquitito más. Por ejemplo, en la misma situación, ¿verdad?
Same
¿Te gusta
situation.
viajar? La última vez que viajé,
Momento. Oh, no, okay. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. She
la
changed.
vez
the
que
thing.
viajé fue en mayo.
¿Te gusta viajar? And instead of just answering, sí, me gusta viajar, which is okay, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's kind of textbook. Okay, instead of making it sound like an interrogation, and where did you go? Yeah. Taking an item that somebody said and kind of embellishing on it is what we should try to do. La última vez que viajé fue en mayo. The last time I traveled was in
May.
May.
Mayo. Sí, me gusta. ¿Te imaginas en esta situación? Quiero que mires esta conversación y que veas que técnicamente no hay nada malo,
Nothing bad about it.
pero la primera persona estaba hablando, compartiendo un poco más de información y la respuesta fue muy corta.
And the answer was short. So, yeah, you want to take either information that the person speaking to you gave and amplify, or inject your own experience into it. Okay.
Y yo entendería que esta persona no quiere continuar conversando conmigo. Entonces podemos elaborar un poquito más en la respuesta,
So we can elaborate a
dar
little bit.
información, hacer un comentario de lo que la otra persona dijo.
Make a comment about what the other person said, or bring in your own experience. That's how we're going to work
Para
with this.
poder llevar la conversación a otro nivel y que siga fluyendo la conversación. Por ejemplo, ¿te gusta viajar? La última vez que viajé fue en mayo. Sí, me gusta. No he viajado últimamente.
Okay, so we can shorten that. No viajé, just make it past. No viajé últimamente. I didn't travel recently.
Pero mi hermano estuvo en París.
But my brother was in Paris. It's still related, and it's about traveling. Okay?
La semana pasada. ¿Puedes ver aquí la diferencia? Para evitar esas respuestas cortas, lo que puedes hacer es toma el último tema de lo que la persona habló, algo que la persona haya mencionado, y tal vez puedes hacer un comentario o hasta inclusive una pregunta con ese tema.
So you can take the last topic, theme, the last topic the person talked about, and make a comment about it, okay, give an opinion about it, or throw back a question that's related to that same topic. Okay? See? So instead of a yes or no, or where did you go, and you just answer, sí, ¿a dónde fuiste? Fui a Inglaterra. Boom. Okay, well, that's not giving much. Fui a Inglaterra porque tengo amigos en Londres. You know, elaborate a little bit. So what we're going to work on for next week is this idea, and I've kind of broken down. ¿Dónde está? Ahí. Momentito. Gotta take that off share and dig up my correct. My correct slides here. Vale, bien, okay. This is what you're going to get in our email. How to keep the conversation rolling, okay? And I point out the things that have stars mean these are things we'll work a little bit. We'll really work number 2 more next week, see? Número 1 es obvio. Number 1 is obvious. You don't need to know how to initiate a conversation. Ya saben, you already know, see? Pero 2 y 3 quizás, 2 and 3 maybe, and 2 especially, see? Okay, so here's her little blip from what she said. Yesterday I went to the movie. What movie did you see? Contratiempo. What time did you go? 5 o'clock. Well, that sounds like you're in an interrogation room and now you're accountable to tell somebody with what you did with your time. And it sounds kind of regimented. But if you take the idea or inject your own experience, it starts to give the conversation someplace to go. So instead of the first one, it's ayer fui al cine. ¿Qué película viste? Contratiempo. You might go off one direction and ask them for details. ¿Qué tipo de película es? You take their comment about la película and you ask for more details about it. See? Or, ¿de qué se trata? What's it about? Or, ¿qué crees? What do you think? ¿Qué crees? ¿Sí? ¿Qué te gustó de la película? What did you like about the movie? So you're taking their comment about that movie and not saying, what time did you go? Where was it? You're asking them to give some more opinion, and that's going to let the conversation flow. Or another way you might let the conversation flow is this other arrow. Maybe relate something you did instead of about asking them for more details, injecting an experience you yourself have had. Like, ayer fui al cine. ¿Qué película viste? Contratiempo. La verdad es que es difícil decidir en una película para toda la familia. Fact is, it's hard to find a movie for the whole family. You're injecting your own experience or your own feedback there. See? Or maybe you could talk about what you yourself in your own experience saw. La última vez que fui, the last time I went, I saw, boom, 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 I saw this. And so what we want to do is to get something to roll a little bit more and get you to exchange more ideas rather than just ask, answer, ask, answer, ask, answer. Sí, ¿entienden? Understand?
Sí.
Bien?
Sí, sí.
Okay, vale. What I'm going to do is to send you this set of slides, and it's going to give you actually something about changing themes also, but or changing topics. That's not a big thing. It's just two terms, por cierto, or cambiar de tema. And we'll talk about that more next week. But this item, this will be one way we would start a conversation. This first topic is something we're going to do all together so that we see how it works together in the big group. Okay, so the first thing where we're going to try to keep the conversation rolling a little more and take it off into new directions, not just with yes, no answers, or with neat things related to, I did this yesterday or I did it at 6 o'clock. Vi un partido muy interesante de fútbol americano anoche. And somebody might respond, veo el fútbol de vez en cuando mi esposo es, porque mi esposo es aficionado. I watch sometimes because my husband's a fan. ¿Sí? ¿Qué equipos jugaron anoche? So instead of just, yes, I saw, or, I saw this game. Oh, which game did you see? And, you can inject your own experience or ask them to elaborate on this first thing of, I saw a game. ¿Entienden? We're going to do this number one all together in a big group. And then there are two things I want you to think about of how you might take a conversation in different directions with these two. And you're going to do these two in smaller groups. See?
Sí.
But we're going to see how the first one works with the whole group together next week. Game?
Yeah.
Okay. Vale. For listening fun, pure fun, you're going to get a wild video. Well, wild, no. Un video interesante. ¿De qué? Un video interesante de una experiencia o de la experiencia en general en el cine. Pero la opinión, you're going to get an opinion on things that go wrong at the movie theater, just for fun. I am not going to give you any vocabulary on it. I want you to listen and take little notes any part of the video that you don't get the gist, what's the big idea, make a little note like, oh, at minute number 2, he said, blah, blah, blah. What was he talking about there? Come back with questions about that. ¿Sí? ¿Bien?
Sí.
Bien.
¿Vale? Okay. Y es muy general. It's the thing, a video about, here's what bugs me. And he's going to give you a list of things. And they're amusing. I guarantee they are kind of amusing. I think there is this disclaimer about swearing. Please do not think there's going to be cussing through the whole video. He's got one little phrase. You're probably going to recognize it. It's going to be a vulgar phrase, but it's a guy. It's going to be a more vulgar version of it gets my goat. It bugs the heck out of me. That kind of thing, but an interesting thing. And I won't say any more because you'll have fun figuring out what it is. And it comes really early. Okay. Bien?
Bien.
Okay, vale. Perfecto, perfecto. Vamos a practicar con otra conversación, and this will be just kind of freewheeling stuff next week. ¿Sí?
Sí.
Vale. Que